Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, your weekly women's tennis podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. Before we get started, a quick reminder to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and or your favourite podcast provider. And follow us on social media. The handle is @BecauseWeWin. And if you like what you hear on our shows, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. I'm Rory Jiwani. With me is Nigel Seeley to look forward to the Cincinnati Open. It's another WTA 1000 event, but the Canadian Open in Montreal is not yet over, which caused a few issues with the draw in Cincy. More hard luck stories for us, I'm afraid, in the north. Mirra Andreeva injured her ankle in defeat to McCartney Kessler. She was my pick. Kessler, you picked her the previous week, Nigel. But Andreeva will not be playing in Cincinnati due to that injury. And your pick, Madison Keys, went down to Clara Towson, who I gave a good mention to in a rare role reversal on this show. But again, some really surprising semi-finalists, perhaps with the exception of Jelena Rybakina. Naomi Osaka, she's through to the final. She beat Towson in the semis. Saving match points against Lyudmila Samsonova seems to have sparked her into life. Towson went out, but she did avenge her Wimbledon defeat to Iga Swiatek. And Victoria Mboko, who couldn't beat Hailey Baptiste at Wimbledon, swept aside Coco Gauff and made her first WTA Tour semi-final and then beat Rybakina to make the final. So we've got two unseeded players in the Montreal final. Nigel, I'm used to women's tennis being unpredictable, but it's off the scale at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Good morning to you, Roy. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, last week, Fernandez winning in Washington, and now this tournament, the final is not even over. And Buku against Naomi Osaka. If anyone has predict that final, well played. I mean, you can dine on that, out on that, not only for a year, but for the rest of your life. I know one of our lucky viewers actually said that he, on Betting Weekly Tennis Live the other day, said he actually bet on Buku at 200 to 1. Wow. I could probably see the logic of having a little bet on there because obviously she's a player that everyone's spoken about that has got a big future in the game, and being our home tournament, you would think that she probably would be a bad result for Bet Rivers, I'm guessing. But I mean, I sort of dismissed her in some of her matches. Says this with the hype about this girl, and we all know she's going to be good, but sometimes the pressure on our home tournament is something that you might want to be anti rather than for. Well, she's thrived on it, and she's been absolutely unbelievable. I mean, she got demoralised in set number 1 in that semi-final yesterday against Rybakina, saved a match point as well in the match. She's not only winning matches easily as well. The Gauff defeat was a blitz. Some other matches have been blitz, but she's showing huge fight and determination. And this is an 18-year-old girl. And, we've spoken about, when we first started doing this podcast, we sat there and said, well, there is a dominant 4 in the women's game. Sabalenka, Swiatek, Gauff, Rybakina. Well, I mean, every week there's someone now forcing their way into it. And, when I do these shows with Sean Calvert, we're going to do the Cincinnati Open tournament a bit later on in the preview of that. You've got two guys who are just so far ahead of everybody else in the betting, and they take up 87% of the margin on the book. And it's 87% one of those two win and 13% the rest of the field. Well, the women's tennis is just insane at the moment for underdog winners, for crazy results, and anybody now going into any tournament gives them a chance. And also, I think the scheduling helps, for these shocks because, straight in after Wimbledon, 500 and a 1,000, back-to-back 1,000s again before the US Open. I think a lot of players are tired, and a lot of them are prioritising Flushing Meadow and not probably coming here with thinking, well, okay, we'll go for a few rounds, but we don't want to overdo ourselves for the US Open. And it's going to be very hot, very tough conditions this week. And, I think there could be shocks again.
Certainly could. I mean, we have had so many shocks in recent weeks, and that seems to be the way it's going at the moment. Let's look at Cincy, the 8th WTA 1000 tournament of the year. World number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, is back after skipping Montreal. She's the defending champion after beating Jessica Pegula 12 months ago. She then defeated Pegula in the US Open final, of course. Coco Gauff won the title in 2023, beating Karolina Muchova in the final. In 2022, Caroline Garcia got the better of Petra Kvitova. 3 unseeded players made the semis that year. Sabalenka was the only seed out of the four. Ashley Barty beat Yil Teichmann in the 2021 final. And in 2020, Victoria Azarenka had a walkover against Naomi Osaka. Roles reversed in the US Open final, Osaka beating Azarenka then. Now, Cincinnati has been known for having quick court conditions, and it looks like the same this year, despite a change in the surface. The manufacturer is now Hartrue rather than Greenset. Now, Hartrue courts were used at Washington last month, and the service hold percentage was a very quick 72.1. That was a couple of ticks faster than the previous year. It was very warm in DC, and that will be the case in Cincinnati too, especially from the weekend onwards. We've got temperatures easily into the 90s Fahrenheit. That's around 34 Celsius. Nigel, I think when Goff won in 2023, the courts played a bit slower than usual. Other than that, it looks like fast court specialists have had the run of things. Any other trends we should be aware of?
Yeah, if you go back through the tournament started in 2004 and the recent history of the tournament, 6 number one seeds have won the tournament. The last number one seed to do so was Ashley Barty, then Venus Williams and Serena Williams in 2015 and 2014. But the first 4 years when the tournament started, the number one seed won it the first 3 of the first 4 years. So in recent history, number one seeds haven't really been that good. You know, if you go back from 2008 all the way up to 2024, only 3 number one seeds have won the tournament. So not great, not massive for number one seeds again, which is something that we've said a lot on these 1,000 events. And in this year, this strange year as well, it's a tournament that you wouldn't be surprised to see Sabalenka struggle in preparation for the US Open. 3 unseeded winners we've had. You mentioned Garcia, Kiki Burton, and Savannah Raver back in 2006. So 3 unseeded winners. But if you look at the last 5 finals, 4 unseeded players have got to the final. So you do get a chance to get someone outside the top 32 giving a good run to the final. Given the fact that it's the tournament before the US Open, on the back of a 1,000 event and, on the back of Wimbledon as well, you do get shocks in this tournament. So unseeded players, you can't rule them out. Obviously, you've got 32 players who are all given a buy into round, the 32 seeds can be a buy into round 2, and the other players have to play for the right to play that 32 seed. There's a couple of trends you want to look for there. So number one seed struggle, and unseeded players, don't rule them out, even though it's a 32-woman draw.
Yeah, as you said, all the 32 seeds get buys, and there are also performance buys for the finalists in Montreal, which were needed because Osaka and Mboko would have been unseeded for this tournament, but they've reached the final, so they're through to round 2 as well. If the quarterfinals do go according to the seedings, Aryna Sabalenka will play Madison Keys in a repeat of the Australian Open final. Iga Swiatek will meet Amanda Anisimova. That's a repeat of the Wimbledon final. Emma Navarro will go up against Jessica Pegula, and Jasmine Paolini will meet Coco Gauff. But I think, the headline of the draw is just how top-heavy it has come out. You've got Sabalenka, Rybakina, Keys all in Q1, Swiatek and Anisimova in Q2. Not much to write home about in the bottom half. We've got the likes of Navarro, Pegula and Gauff all out of form. Nigel, we'll put up the outright odds now. Aryna Sabalenka is our $3 favourite. Take out Mira Andreeva because she's not in the tournament. There's a clear angle to having a play in this tournament, isn't there, Nigel? Yeah,
the draw is the most one-sided draw that I've seen this year on the WTA Tour. I mean, it's absolutely lopsided heavy. Not only the seeds that you said there, some of the dangerous opponents in that bracket as well. Q1, Sabalenka, Samsonova, Fernandez, who won last week, and Raducanu. That's the sort of likeliest in that, alongside Rybakina, Pavlyuchenkova, Keys, Mertens, obviously a former winner here. So that's a very, very, very tough. I keep getting why am I getting Mertens and Burtons mixed up? I'm having a bit of a nightmare on the Mertens and Burtons. Anyway, it's a tough Q1. Q2, equally tough. Iga Swiatek, the Wimbledon champion, in there. Mboko, obviously, teen sensation. Alexandrova, Kaliskaya, Anisimova. So I'd say Q2's a little bit slightly easier, but I think it may be a little bit too quick for Iga Swiatek. And then compare that to Q3, Navarro, Kessler, Kenny Mukova, Towson, Bencic, Lynette Pegula in Q3. I mean, compare that to Q1, there's absolutely no comparison. And Q4, Paulini, Kruger, Noskova, Osaka, Kazatkina, Ostapenko, Yastremska, and Goff. And again, I think they'll be too quick for a real out of sorts Coco Gauff. So a huge advantage in the bottom half compared to the top half. And I think the strategy this week is we have to try to highlight a couple of people at the bottom half of the draw that we think can get to the final and get half the odds 1-2 with Bet Rivers. I'm not, whoever comes through the top half is going to be an overwhelming favourite against whoever, if we can be lucky enough to get a finalist into the final. But I think it's worth throwing a few darts at some big price players in the bottom half of the draw, because I think that Coco Gauff is a massive fade in these quick conditions. She's never really done well in quick conditions. All her best form this year has been on clay. I think it'd be far too quick for her. And obviously she's got the pressure of being right for the US Open. I think that's definitely the priority for the Gauff camp. So Gauff is a fade for me. Pegula is always a fade. I think she's always in or around the tournament, but never really, very rarely goes on to win it, even though she gets the finals and semi-finals. But at the odds in her form as well, she's a fade. So I think there's got to be some value in that bottom half of the draw, and hopefully they can negotiate a fairly comfortable draw, and we could get, one or two of the top seeds exerting all their energy to get to the final, and our girl comes through. But I think you've got to be concentrating the bottom half of the draw for each way value, and hopefully get some big price shots and get them to the final.
Yeah, let's run through those outright odds. Sabalenka, the $3 favourite. Swiatek, $4. Gauff, $6. Jelena Rybakina, $10. Jess Pegula and Madison Keys and Naomi Osaka, $12. Obviously, Osaka shortened up thanks to her exploits this week in Montreal. Anisimova and Towson, $20. Svitolina and Bogko, $25. Of course, the young Canadian through to the final in Montreal. Emma Raducanu and Karolina Mukova at $33. And it's $40 bar those. As you say, there's got to be some value at big prices in the bottom half of the draw. Where have you landed on?
Well, there's a couple of little things that I think you want to know before we go on to the picks. The first thing I think you want to say is if Mbuku wins tonight in the final against Osaka, she goes up to 24 in the world.
Wow.
Now, she'd be 24 in the world. She would have won her first 1,000 event. She will be seeded for the US Open, and I'll be very, very surprised if she participates this week. If she doesn't win tonight, she'll be 34 in the world, and she'll have to go to at least the last 16 here to get a seed for the US Open. So I don't believe Mbuka will participate if she wins tonight. And I don't think Osaka will participate either. So I think you're going to lose two of those as well.
Yeah, she's already seeded for the US Open. Pretty sure.
Yeah, so she's got a job done. She's seeded. I think at her age in her career, I don't think she'll come here and play this in these conditions, risk injury for the US Open. I think she might skip it. So I think Osaka and Mbuka might not even participate, which means that Mbuka is in Q2 and Osaka is in Q4. So that is one thing you've got to think about. The other thing I think you've got to look at, especially in match bets, there's a lot of play. The top 29 in the women's world ranking at the moment have got enough points. I think that will secure them seeds for the US Open, and that includes Kenin. But anyone around 31, 32, 33, 34, I think they need to go deep here. So Kruger, Kanaskaya, Yastremska, Lynette, Pavlyuchenkova, those girls here might be putting in a little bit more effort than others if you look at them in match bets or potentially going quite far in this tournament. I'm not. Some of them I don't think can go all the way to win it, but they will have an extra incentive to make sure that they are seeded for Wimbledon. There's people who are like 15 in the world, 16 in the world. Are they really going to go all at it here with the US Open just less than 2 weeks away now, or 2 weeks away now? I don't think they will. So I'd be quite worried about that. Let's have a look at some of the leading contenders. Obviously, you've got Sabalenka. She's obviously the tournament favourite. Won it last year. Should be suited by this. Has a week off. She is a worthy favourite. Iga Swiatek, I think, is a fade. it's always been too quick for her. Never got past the semi-finals, which she did in 24 and 23. Prior to that, round 16, round 2 and round 1. So it's a pretty poor effort for Iga Świątek. Coco Gauff, absolutely terrible form since winning the French Open. Amount of double faults, real short of confidence. I mean, and this is going to be too quick for her. I don't like her at 6-1. Rebecca must be absolutely distraught in terms of how she got beat by Mbuka, an 18-year-old kid. 6-1, wins the first match points, and she overturns her. Madison Keys was not at all impressed by her reaching the quarterfinals last week, even though I was on her. Far confess. Osaka, I don't think will play. Anisimova, ridiculously tough draw, not for me. Clara Towson will be exhausted from last week. Absolutely, she went some long matches as well. Again, Svitolina went deep at her age, and Mbuka might not play. Navarro I can't have. Raducanu I can't have. Paolini I can't have. It's a process of elimination. There's only one on the draw we're having, and that is Karolina Mukova at 33-1. That is my main bet this week. I'm going to have 1 point each way. And I'll tell you why I like her. I mean, I know she's suffered from injuries, and we've got to take a little bit of a chance on Mukova, obviously, with the fact that she's had lots of injuries. But she played well last week in Montreal. Yep. It was the best she played for a long, long time. She got to the last 16 against Madison Keys. She had match point against Madison Keys and couldn't convert it. So she if you had the XG or you had some data analytics on the tennis, you would look at her and think, well, she should have got to the quarterfinals at the very least. If she played that match again, she would have beat her. If you look at her record here, it's a good one. She got to the final here in 2023. She's only ever been beaten by good players here. I mean, if you look at, she got beat by Osaka when she was at the top of her game. I think she went on deep that year. Bencic, again, who I think got to the final the year she beat her, or got to the semi-final. Gauff, who won it, and then she got beat by Jess Pegula last year, who got to the final. And I just got a feeling that she's positioned in that bottom half of that draw, that Q3, which is extremely weak. I'm not loving Navarro at the moment. Kessler and Kenin in that draw with her, no, I'm not loving her. And I just think she's got a great chance. I think in that bottom half, lots of things to worry about other players. And I think that she can go far here. So I'm going to go. She can, on her day, she's a top 6 player in the world, top 5 player if she's fit. It looked as though she was back to fitness, and I think if we can get a good 10 days out of her, then I think she's a good bet here at 33-1. Then the question, if the bookmaker, if Bet Rivers knew that she was Mukova and she was a fit Mukova, I think she'd be half that price. Again, 16-1 for her to make the final in a very weak section and a very weak half the draw. Mukova is my bet. My second bet, and it's not necessarily a bet, but I think this is a girl you want to watch out for this week. She's way well wrapped down in the rankings. I mean, she's at 115 in the rankings, but I think Katie McNally will have a good tournament. I mean, she's started to play some very good tennis. I mean, she lost to Iga Świątek at Wimbledon, didn't she? But she took the opening set off her, and she gave her a real tough test and played really, really well. She went on to win the tournament the week after in Newport Beach, as she likes quick conditions. Newport is a fast, quick conditions. Then she won the title again, another a challenger event in Evansville. And then she played in Montreal, and she had 2 good wins against Parks and Shramkova. And then she got beat by Madison Keys. But again, she took the first set against Madison Keys. She's from Cincinnati. She'll be used to this. She's from Ohio. And she's 125-1. I'm not going to put her up as a bet to win this, but she could emerge in that Q3 as the biggest challenge to Mukova. She could take out Navarro. Her draw. I think she has to play Navarro she has to play Navarro or Kessler in round 2, and then potentially Navarro in round 3. I think she's got the capability to beat in those and be in a shock. So keep an eye out for Katie McNally, a local girl playing the best tennis of her career. I expect a big, I say week nowadays, what is it, 10 days, 12 days? Exactly. A big 10 days. And she could be someone to look out for. But my main tip is Mukova. I think she's got the class. She's a big name in the bottom half of the draw. There's lots of doubts about everybody else. The 2 obvious ones are Gauff and Pegula, both the American players, but you couldn't take Gauff at this way of form. So I'm going to have a point each way on Karolina Mukova at 33-1.
Yeah, it's yeah, I certainly see the logic in that. I think if she's fully fit and hopefully she's recovered from her exertions in Montreal, um, yeah, as you say, she should have got further. Um, I'm hoping for a big run in the US Open from Mukova now that she seems to be over the sort of run of injuries. She's had so many injuries down the years, as been well documented on here, because I'm a big fan of hers, and she got to the French Open final a couple of years ago. But if she can be fit, but you just don't know at the moment. This is so wide open women's tennis. I've also gone for someone in the bottom half. I've actually gone for someone in Q4, who I never thought I'd find myself backing. Actually, there are two players in Q4 who were definitely on my sort of red list, black list of players to back. One was Yelena Ostapenko, who's $66, but her form has been pretty poor of late. But she's the sort of player who could put it all together. And the other one who I will be backing is Diana Yastremska, who I've said before. I've said, she can be very flaky and inconsistent, but her form of late hasn't been bad. Of course, she beat Coco Gauff at Wimbledon, and she's played well since. She's not been getting particularly deep in tournaments, but she has had some good wins. And I think, given the way women's tennis is at the moment, and given her draw, I think that's the thing in her favour. She beat Emma Navarro in Montreal, lost out 7-5 in the third to Rybakina. No disgrace, Rybakina on a fast surface. She went very deep in Hamburg. That was on clay. She got to the semi-finals. Before that, as I say, she beat Gauff at Wimbledon. A bit disappointed probably to lose to Jessica Bouzas-Monero in round 3. But I think she's, given her draw, which, early on looked okay. In the round of 32, she's likely to face Coco Gauff again. As we've said, on a quick surface, you'd fancy her chances. Then it's probably either Ostapenko or Kasatkina. Again, I'd fancy her chances there. And then you're looking at perhaps Noskova or Paolini or Svitolina. These are players who you'd give her a good chance of beating. And then you're into the semi-finals. And we're in the bottom half, so it could be someone like Mukova or Towson or Pegula if she gets her form back. It's the bottom half is so much easier than the top. And Yastremska, and Bet Rivers are definitely tempting me because she's $200 with Bet Rivers. So I really think this is the first time we're really seeing Yastremska actually find some consistency. It's something she's really struggled with in her career so far. But I'm going to have half a point each way on Yastremska at $200. I think, that Q4 to me looks, both Q3 and Q4, given the form of the seeds, Navarro, Pegula, Gauff, look very winnable. And I think Yastremska might be the answer in Q4, but it's really wide open. I mean, I'd really like someone like Aisling Kruger because she's good on fast surfaces, but her form of late has been awful. So yeah, it's so difficult at the moment in women's tennis. We're seeing the makeup of the business end of these tournaments with players who you just would not expect. So I'll be hoping for more shocks here in Cincinnati. Any other thoughts in that top half? I mean, who would you think would get through that? I know this is no good for betting purposes. Do you think Sabalenka's a worthy? I think she is probably a worthy favourite, but
yeah,
you couldn't back her at $3, could you?
No, I would. I think Sabalenka's a worthy favourite. If you were looking for me a value play at the prices, I think Amanda Anisimova would probably be the person I think at 20-1 because I think Swiatek is beatable on these quick conditions. It will suit Anisimova, and we know Anisimova's got a brilliant record against Sabalenka. If they met in the semi-finals, she beat her obviously at Wimbledon. So it would be Sabalenka or Anisimova for me from the top half. But I just think there's so many difficult sort of questions to be answered in that top half that you're taking a real chance that someone's going to run into someone and anyone can have a busy day, big day. I mean, if you look at the betting there, I mean, all of them, apart from Goff, are in the top half of the draw. So I would, I think we just have to solely concentrate on the bottom. The other one at the bottom half, I was quite tempted to do, but then I just thought about the way that she capitulated in that Czech final was Noskova. I think the draw's been quite kind for her as well. Might be a little bit too quick for her, I don't know, but I just think that if Osaka doesn't play, then it opens up for Noskova, and I think she's got the beating of Svitolina and Paolini at this stage. But again, I think that Yastremska bet is a very interesting one because she has got a good record against Goff. She's beaten her this year. She also took a set 6 love off against her in Madrid. I think the overall record is 3-1 to Goff, but Yastremska took the first set, bageled her in the first set in Madrid, and Goff come back and won it. Goff is really vulnerable at the moment. I mean, to be $6 is really, really vulnerable. She's got to turn her whole game around. Then, I think it's all about the US Open first. So I think Goff is a big fade this week, and I think Świątek is a fade this week. So that opens it up. But I like the Yastremska, and the reason why as well of that seeding. She's 35 in the world. A good week, 33 in the world currently on the live seeding. So a good win here, a good week here, getting to perhaps the last 16 and beat Goff, and she'd probably be seeded for the US Open. So that is an incentive for someone to go deep. So I quite like that.
Yeah, the other player I quite liked, and you mentioned her because she'll probably play Katie McNally early on, is McCartney Kessler, who beat Andreeva in Montreal. And she's just she signs that maybe she could have another breakthrough. Of course, she did win a tournament last year. I think she get to the final of one this year as well. So, I thought her best would be on slower surfaces, but she's shown she can. I mean, she's quite a hard hitter. And
she won Nottingham, didn't she?
That was
it. Wimbledon, and she got beat by Vondrousova in round 1.
Yes. So she knows how to win tournaments, and obviously it's not a 1,000, but just given that draw, she will probably could face Mukova in the round of 16, and if Mukova is fully fit and going well, you would expect Mukova to win that. But as I said, I'm like you. I don't expect too much from Towson this week because of how deep she went in Montreal. And Pegula looks very vulnerable at the moment. Bencic doesn't look in great form. It's just very scrappy. Whereas compared to the top half, you've got players who are in form and very high in the world rankings and with good records in Cincinnati. So bottom half is definitely the way.
It's well worth having a few bets on 3 or 4 players in that bottom half of the draw to hope you can hit the finalists, because there is so much value on the place part. So your place part value is massive. Your win part value isn't much value at all, but your place part is huge. If you work out the mathematics of these players to get to the final, you'll be getting a lot bigger by taking the half their odds place here with Bet Rivers, and it's well worth betting 4 or 5.
You're not tempted to add another one to your portfolio?
No, I'm going to go. Well, I will. I tell you what I'll be betting. I'll be betting Mukova as my main tip. I'll be betting your girl, Yastremska. I'll be betting McNally. I'll be betting Noskova. And I might be betting Kruger as well. There'll be my 5 and hope one of them can get to the final.
Yeah.
But my main tip on here would be Carolina Mukova.
So there we go. And as Nigel said, my tip, half point each way on Diana Yastremska at $200. So that is Cincinnati. It could be another very, very interesting tournament with lots of shock results. And of course, we're building towards the final slam of the year, the US Open in New York. Nigel, ATP also in Cincinnati, and you'll be looking ahead to that with Sean a bit later.
Yep, drop in a little later on. Looking ahead to that. They're looking at a very interesting draw. The return of Sinner and Alcaraz. Can anyone stop them? Oh, that's the big question. I don't know. I'm sure Sean will find some value, but it's going to be very hard to stop those two.
Yeah, no Djokovic, if I'm not mistaken.
No Djokovic, no Jack Draper.
Right.
No.
So, it could be between the big two. That's you covered on the tennis front. Of course, the soccer season just about to get underway. Well, it has got underway in the lower leagues in England, for instance, and across Europe. It's starting, and of course we'll have you covered on Betting Weekly Live. And next Monday, we'll have more Betting Weekly Tennis Live, and that will have plenty of in-play action from Cincinnati on the men's and the women's side. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make us aware of who you think will go well in Cincinnati. Drop your comments below the line on YouTube. And remember, if you do like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter. You get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. And you can sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. That's it for this week. It's going to be a bit of a delay because it's one of these 10-day tournaments. Not often we have a midweek show, but we'll be back and pretty soon it's going to be the US Open, and we'll have you covered for that. Live shows are plenty. We'll have the draw for you as well, like we did at Wimbledon. So many of you enjoyed that and joined us for that, and we'll be looking at the draw as it happens for the US Open. But Nigel, thanks again as always, and we'll see you again soon on Betting Weekly WTA.